Hello, my name is Jimmy. I'm a child passenger safety technician, and this is the 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLC. This here is the Canadian spec GLC 300, which is the only powertrain we can get at this moment, but there's going to be others coming soon. But let me tell you everything you really need to know about this vehicle. So let's start with the looks. On the front end here, you're not going to mistake it for any other brand, are you? A big Mercedes crest in the middle, and check out this grille. All these little points, well, they're actually the Mercedes star. So it actually has a lot of detail in here. Very, very cool. On the side, we do have the LED headlights. These are the upgraded digital lights. This vehicle also has the AMG line night package, so the front bumper is a little bit different. On the side, we got these 19-inch wheels. They're kind of this AMG Aero look, which I actually kind of like. They remind me a lot of the AMG GT that I was driving not that long ago. I mean, the overall shape on the side is, well, very similar to the old GLC. As, like I said, it does have the night package. You got the blacked out roof rails, blacked out window surrounds, but you still get chrome door handles, and you get proximity door locks on the front doors as well as the rear. On the back, we do have a little bit of a lip spoiler on top. Beautiful, beautiful LED tail lamps on the side, and really, really fake exhaust tips on the bottom. I mean, overall, it's not a far departure from the previous GLC. It looks so similar. But is that a bad thing? I personally don't think so. It still has, well, what you love about the GLC, but it's just better because it's bigger than before. And we see that here in the trunk, because now you get 22 cubic feet of space. And don't think it's, well, any less useful. I mean, yes, you still get the tonneau cover, which you can retract. And then your rear seats, you can fold those 40-20-40, so you can have longer items and still have 4 passengers in there. And you can even fold the seats with the buttons here on the sides. It's a great little space. And underneath, you still get a compact spare, unlike some other brands, which doesn't give you that option at all. But let's head to the inside. All right, the back seats of the GLC. I'm 5'11", and headroom and legroom both are actually plentiful, and I can slide my feet underneath the front seat, which is also great. The seats back here, well, I don't have the heated rear seat option, so this panel on the side here is quite blank, and I also don't have the rear USBs, so this here is also quite blank. But at least I have ventilation ports. But it's just a little odd in here, considering the cost of this vehicle, and I just get some blanked out covers. Well, just seems like I'm missing out on a little bit. But you do get, of course, your fold down armrest. If you press here, you get a little phone holder. Press again, and you get your full on cup holders. At least you still get that, right? If you're fitting child seats, like I said, I am a child passenger safety technician, and well, I wanted to show you exactly how child seats fit in this vehicle safely. On the driver's side here, this is a Kleckling infant seat. No problems getting that infant seat in. While the rear doors don't open like a full 90 degrees, it was still relatively easy getting that child seat in here. On the passenger side, this is a Kleck 5th in rear facing. As with basically all rear facing seats, it's going to take up a little bit more space. However, I'm happy to say because of the roofline is still quite high, my son at 3 years old, he's still very happily climbing in and out of the vehicle by himself with no assistance. There's a little bit of a ledge on the side that'll just make things a little bit easier for him. In terms of lower anchors, you do have a set on the driver's side and a set on the passenger side. I also really like these covers. They're not the removable ones, so you don't lose them over time. And in terms of upper anchors, you do have 3 behind the bench here. The headrests, all 3 of them are movable as well. So if you're putting, for example, like this Kleck Uber, you shouldn't have any problems with the high back booster. But let's move up to the front. All right, the front seats. I'm 5'11", so headroom, legroom, both isn't a problem. The seats are actually quite supportive, and you got really nice side bolsters as well. This is a man-made leather, and the seats are heated. But if you want them cooled, or climate controlled as Mercedes called them, well, you do have to option that out. Unfortunately, that does not come standard. In front of me here, we do have the newer Mercedes steering wheel. It has a little bit of a flat bottom, and you have all your controls on the spokes on the side. They are glossy black, which means that fingerprints get on them and get smudgy over time. And personally, well, just because of how they're kind of canted towards the top, it's just a little bit difficult to use. And there's a lot to control here, from the infotainment to the cluster. The cluster, It's a giant display, and actually it's very, very pretty. Let's be honest here. There's a lot of different configurations you can choose from just your normal to a sport view, and you can really select the things that you want to see on here. I do like that. And of course, you do have a heads-up display, and there's different kind of displays for that as well. So there's a lot of configurability here. However, I must say, when you're driving, you can change those items, but I would probably suggest not to do that. There's just way too many menus for you to dive into while you're driving. Definitely one of those park and adjust features. As for this infotainment, this portrait style tablet here, it's actually quite nice. It's canted a little bit towards the driver, so it's easier for the driver to interact with, which, let's be honest, it's going to be mostly what the driver is going to be doing. It is running off the latest MBUX system, so it has Hey Mercedes, it has wireless CarPlay, as well as Android Auto. You do get Sirius XM, but it is an optional extra, so you have to stack that on. The only kind of negative I would say is because they're going this way, comparing to the previous generation, where you have a lot more physical buttons, well, you really don't get that. You get a row of buttons just beneath the display here to control some items like the volume and whatnot, but you just lack those physical controls that you have previously. And the climate control, well, that was all physical previously as well, and now that's built into the bottom of the display. It always stays there, which is great, but you do have to interact with the screen while you're driving. However, with the Hey Mercedes, you can say change the temperature or turn on the heated steering wheel, whatever you may need with that system. So you don't necessarily need to interact with the display, but I must admit, it is probably a little easier than saying Hey Mercedes every single time. Overall, the interior of this GLC is absolutely beautiful. The stitching across the dash and the door cards, you can't really compare this to some other brands. This just feels a lot more upscale, even comparing to the previous generation. Yes, there's less buttons in here, but it does clean things up, especially in the center stack here. It's just kind of this waterfall in the middle, and it is quite nice. Let's talk a little bit about the powertrain before we go for a drive. As mentioned earlier, this is the GLC 300. So underneath the hood, you get a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. It's mated to a 9-speed automatic and all-wheel drive as standard. You get 255 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. Getting up to highway speeds takes about 6 seconds or so. So it's definitely not that bad. It's pretty good for the class. And I must say, that little 2-liter Turbo 4, it sounds pretty good once you start to rev it out a little bit. But in the cold, it's a little bit more chattery than I may like. It kind of sounds like a diesel when it's cold, but once it warms up, it's absolutely fine. And it's a very Mercedes-like experience in here. It's superbly quiet. Wind noise, road noise, it's kept to a minimum. There's a little bit of tire noise, but honestly, not that much. And it's just a very comfortable ride. The suspension, it just soaks up everything. Because it is a Mercedes after all. This is designed to be comfortable, not sporty. If you want sporty, get a Porsche or get a BMW. This is comfortable. And it just, kind of just floats as you gotta go along. It's not like it's a superbly floaty ride and you're not like bouncing everywhere or anything like that, but it's just very comfortable. The steering lacks really any feel to it, which, let's be honest, in this day and age, it's pretty typical. But if you really want a sportier experience, the BMW steering is definitely better than this. Who knows, maybe the GLC 43 or the 63 that's coming soon, that's gonna make it a little bit better. But for now, this is just kind of numb and just feels like an average everyday vehicle, which to most people, it's going to be. And that's where it excels. Because it has that mild hybrid EQ system, and that system just works phenomenally well. I drove the 2023 Mercedes C-Class just earlier on in the year, and the calibration on that, it just wasn't as good as this. That one, when you come to a stop, the vehicle just tend to lurch a little bit and just wasn't as smooth. In here, it's buttery. You come to a stop, the engine shuts down, and it doesn't jerk. it's just able to kind of slowly allow you to come to a stop. And when you take your foot off the brake, the engine just, well, slowly wakes up. It doesn't have to rev up. It just slowly wakes up and then you're, well, ready to go. It's a very, very good system. And just how smooth it is, I absolutely love it. This mild hybrid tech, I gotta admit, I'm like most people, I don't like the auto start stop. I mean, it's just one of those things that for a lot of vehicles you turn off because it's so annoying. And you just feel that car start and stop every single time. But with this EQ system, you don't feel it at all. So I never have to turn it off. I just leave it as is and I'm very happy with it. Honestly, overall, well, the GLC is exactly what you want in a luxury SUV like this. This is, well, probably the best Mercedes SUV that they currently have out. The GLE is getting very dated. Same thing with the GLS. The G-Wagon, let's be honest, unless you're, very, very wealthy, you're not going to get that. The GLB, it's fine. It's kind of quirky. Same with the GLA, but this is the pinnacle of Mercedes tech as of now. I'm sure later on it's going to be different, but this is absolutely great. I do have to talk a little bit about pricing though. The good news is the GLC has a very similar starting price as the C-Class sedan at 59,000 Canadian dollars. As spec'd here, about 74,000. I mean, as long as you're smart with your options, it's actually pretty sensible. It's right in line with BMW, but it is a little bit more than like the Audi Q5 as well as the Genesis GV70. But let's be honest, those people that want a Mercedes, they're going to buy a Mercedes. Those people that's going to be buying a BMW, they want a BMW. Most people that's looking for this luxury kind of market, they don't really sway away from the brands that they like. And when they do, they automatically jump back right after. At least that's what I've been noticing here in Vancouver. It may differ in elsewhere, so let me know what your thoughts are in, if luxury vehicles buyers, like, do they stick to their brand? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. But if you have any other questions on the GLC, let me know as well, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.